1, 2, up, down. You can do it. 1, 2.
Most people have heard of Charles Atlas and Jack LaLanne, but there is another father of physical fitness, and his name is T.K. Cureton.
He had some Jack LaLanne in him. I think the unique thing about him is that he was also a scientist.
He brought the notion that physical activity is a preventive form of medicine for all people of all ages to the public for the first time.
In the 1950s and 60s, T.K. Cureton was known around the world for his research in exercise physiology at the University of Illinois.
If you were interested in physical fitness, he came to the University of Illinois.
The national media told America about his revolutionary work.
What's happening in this room could add years to your life.
It's important to remember that T.K. Cureton was a pioneer, and he was able to establish at the University of Illinois a research lab and a credibility for his research mission that was ahead of his times.
Cureton was sought out by elite athletes for advice on how to improve their performance. He was even given special permission to test athletes at the Olympic Games.
Not much fazed him, so he would travel to Europe with half his laboratory.
If you're trying to find out what's happening when people exercise, you look at the people who exercise a lot, and you look at the people who exercise a certain way. So then you start seeing that what you need to be a marathon runner is quite different than what you need to be a sprinter, than what you need to be a pole vaulter or something else.
One of the many Olympians that Cureton researched was Jesse Owens. Cureton witnessed Owens' historic victory at the Berlin Games in 1936. In the early 1960s, Owens came to the University of Illinois for more testing. Cureton asked Owens to run on a treadmill while he hooked up a device to collect the air he breathed.
There was a valve that you put in the mouth, the air would come in here, go in there, and come back out the other side. We would collect that. Cureton had been putting it together and talking to Jesse Owens all the time, and he had both valves going so you could only breathe in but couldn't breathe out. Jesse Owens starts running, and about 10 seconds later he goes, and Cureton grabbed it and stuck it back in and keep running. And then put it back in, and Jesse Owens just jumped off the treadmill and says, "I can't breathe."
Cureton's research did more than help elite athletes. He wanted to improve the health of the common person, and America badly needed it.
Are you ready physically for this training?
Almost half of the men drafted for World War II were rejected or given non-combat positions because of their poor physical condition. Cureton blamed our new world of convenience.
Look at that. Isn't it beautiful?
The beautiful 1961 Chevrolet.
Push button.
Pick up the plates, the button is pressed.
And the dishwashing unit does all the rest.
Imagine having to do that the hard way, by hand.
Rollo, fix.
At a time when technology was supposed to be improving people's lives, Cureton warned that it may actually be hazardous to your health.
Most Americans who live in cities lived very confined existences. The lack of exercise and poor living habits in general caused the deterioration that we see in them.
Cureton made it his mission to educate as many people as possible on how to lead a healthier life.
Every weekend he would travel somewhere to do a clinic for a group of doctors or dentists or some professional group.
And he would go in on a Friday, give lectures on Friday night, test people on Saturday morning, train them in the afternoon, and then Saturday night and Sunday morning he would sit down with their results and discuss one-on-one with them what they should do and what they shouldn't do.
He really initiated the focus on everyday people. Individuals who didn't view themselves as athletes or jocks, but accountants and professors and secretarial staff. And he believed that exercise would have as much benefit for the man in the street as it would for the elite athlete.
When he exercised, he talked the whole time. And I remember that he was about 60 at that time, and there was a man in the group, about 30, and he was winded, and he stopped. He said, "That's no fair. He's been doing that all his life." And I said, "That's exactly what he's trying to tell you."
Cureton also wanted to help children. At the University of Illinois, he started summer sports fitness camps, which improved the physical capabilities of hundreds of children, including his own sons. No matter where he went, Cureton repeated the same message. He encouraged people to eat less fatty foods and to exercise 6 times a week. Today, this seems like common sense, but in Cureton's day, people thought he was crazy.
One problem that Cureton had was that he would tell people, "You've got to do this 6 times a week," and he turned some people off.
There are a lot of people who don't enjoy exercising, and I think there were negative attitudes towards exercise, that it either wasn't necessary or that it used up your energy.
And there were many people who thought that it was actually harmful for your health. If you exercise too much, you use up too many heartbeats.
Back in the 50s, people used to say, "Well, you had a heart attack, what you need to do is rest." And it turned out if you rested, that was the worst thing you could do, because you were sitting, you became deconditioned, and you had more chance of blood clots.
It is possible to postpone the distance from death by steady application of this program, to turn the clock back on old age.
He believed in his own opinions and stated them forcefully, and as far as I know, really never backed down.
He never lost an argument. And I learned after a while the main reason was that he would argue and argue and argue until you left because you ran out of time.
Cureton's interest in fitness started in his childhood. When he was a boy, he suffered from asthma and was underdeveloped. His father enrolled him in the YMCA and the Boy Scouts to help improve his health. Growing up in Florida, he also swam in the ocean and became an expert swimmer. His love of fitness continued at Yale, where he ran cross-country and swam on the swim team while earning a degree in electrical engineering. During his spare time, he coached basketball and track and taught swimming at the YMCA. He decided to pursue an advanced degree in physical education at Columbia. In 1941, Cureton moved with his young family to the University of Illinois.
We were an active family. My mom taught at the YMCA. She taught swimming and physical activity classes for women. My brother and I were involved in sports, and I look back, we had sort of a Leave It to Beaver family.
Kirk Cureton remembers that his father's devotion to exercise never wavered, even on long family vacations.
We were driving through Manitowoc, Wisconsin. We were pretty much in the middle of the city, and he decided he needed to do some exercise. So he got out of the car and he said, "Portia, you drive the car and I'll run behind the car." And of course, to me, I don't know, I was probably 10 years old, and it was embarrassing to have him out there running behind the car.
Cureton retired from Illinois in 1969, but he never retired from physical fitness. His daily runs took him through a cemetery, where he quipped that he ran past all his colleagues that didn't exercise.
When he retired, he started swimming an hour, half hour a day, cycling an hour, hour and a half a day, and running an hour a day. He did that, and when he was 79, he had many of the Masters records. And he says, "I'm really training hard this year." And I said, "Why?" "It's my last chance to break the records for the 70-year-olds, and next year I'll be 80, and I want to be sure I'm in good shape and start breaking the records in the 80s.
He was tremendously proud of his students, proud of his laboratory, so I think he certainly relished in the work he was able to do.
T.K. Cureton passed away in 1992 at the age of 91.
T.K. Cureton's legacy is a commitment to ongoing research in the area of physical activity and health and wellness, not only at Illinois, but all over the country and actually all over the world.
The preceding program was produced by the University of Illinois in association with the Big Ten Network.